Zelensky, pretty sure he's a process predator. In that sense, what I mean is this is a guy who desperately sought out fame his entire life. He was a middling comedian. He will never be more famous and more wealthy than he is today, and as long as this war keeps going. You know who doesn't have my support?
Who?
Zelensky.
Oh, why not?
Well, I don't like him. I don't like him, and I want to hurt him. I don't want to kill him, just to be clear. But I do mean, like, you know, like I'd like to place something in his path to the bathroom at night that in the dark you'd stub his toe.
Yeah, like
you know
a
what I mean?
Roomba.
Yeah, yes.
Like something heavy, though.
Yeah,
Like a Roomba,
heavy.
you're like, I'm glad I got you this for Christmas.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then it'll like go off the stairs because they're affected. Now, Zelensky, and Biden is speaking at the UN. Mission Control, you can let us know if we need to address it.
What a nightmare for the translator.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what the hell he said. No one knows.
AI's broken now because of it.
AI kills itself. It initiates self-abort. What a world, what a world.
Cannot compute.
Perhaps there is a reason for his... Oh my God, I've looked up the pictures. He showers with his daughter. Why would you make me read that? I hate you. Kill me.
Great timing.
Oh, I must leave. I will find solace in Hunter Biden's... Oh God! She was your niece. What an evil family.
Yes.
So Zelensky was in the United States yesterday while his country's at war, particularly a swing state, weighing in on the election and talking crap on one half of the potential choices. I can allow you to guess which one. It took place at a munitions factory in Pennsylvania. Here's a clip. He's very short.
You said that 400 people work here, but I wanted very much to come here and to thank you. 400 people saved millions of Ukrainians. Because of the result of your work, I'm very thankful, just from ordinary Ukrainians to you.
Sell this on eBay. My autograph.
Yeah.
So
From Zelensky with love.
it is all Ukrainians are very grateful to you, Pennsylvania. It is because of you. And this is the kind of thing, I get that it's a photo op, that makes a lot of people think this isn't real, that it's manufactured. You know what you never heard? Someone come in and go, oh, thank you. You're the chaps who defeated Hitler, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Thank you, Harrisburg, for single-handedly fighting off Stalin. It's like, what people, if you were to say that to people in Pittsburgh, they go, what?
What are you talking about?
That guy just say we defeated Hitler and here and went. Does he know he's in Pittsburgh? So this is just pandering and him signing an artillery shell. Hey, I don't know if you know this. Your country's at war. And for him to enter into this arena and try and, it should be grossly offensive, and I don't use that term often, for someone in a foreign nation who is dependent entirely on the money from the United States to weigh in on an election that directly impacts that money flowing into his pocket. And that has nothing to do with the fact that Putin is a KGB piece of garbage. But before I get into this, look, this is where I really, really don't like Putin. I know that. But I'm really starting to dislike Zelensky. And it's the difference between, I had someone describe this to me. This is what I mentioned at the top of the show. If you're dealing with someone who's mugging you or breaking into your house, you need to differentiate between, I can't remember where I was taught this, so I'm sure someone can find it. I'm sure it's probably taught somewhere in psychology courses. A resource predator versus a process predator. What that means is a resource predator. Think someone who's robbing your house because they want jewelry, expensive electronics, things like that. Right? They want to get in and out. They want that crime to be committed with as little resistance and as little effort or difficulty on their part as possible. They are looking for a resource, okay? The process predator is a sociopath who likes inflicting pain, who likes hurting you, who enjoys the process. And these are two very distinct people who you may find yourself in a conflict with. Here's why it really matters. How you handle a resource predator actually turns on, arouses the process predator, and vice versa. In other words, how you handle a resource predator, give me your watch, give me your wallet. the best thing you can do is, here's my watch, They don't want to fight. They don't want to shoot you. They don't want to hurt you. They want your watch and your wallet. But if you do that to a process predator, give me your watch and your wallet. You hand it over. He now feels like God. He hasn't had the process. He's going to have to hurt you anyway. You're emboldening him, and you're basically forcing him to move that line further and further because he's not looking for the wallet. He's looking to torture you, to damage you. Same thing. If you fight back against a process predator and make it incredibly, you have to kill him, to be clear, pretty much, if you're in a life or death conflict. You do that with a resource predator, you may now have escalated it and put him in a fight or flight response that he never planned to go into in the first place. He just wanted your stuff. You need to be able to identify the difference. We know that, here's what we do know. Putin is absolutely a resource predator, okay? He does want portions of Ukraine. Is he a process predator? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know that he likes war for war's sake. I'm 50. There's a possibility. There's also a possibility that he needs to save face right now. Right? It's an ego thing. Zelensky, pretty sure he's a process predator. In that sense, what I mean is this is a guy who desperately sought out fame his entire life. He was a middling comedian. He will never be more famous and more wealthy than he is today, and as long as this war keeps going. Elections are suspended. If this war is ended, there's a very strong chance he's out and that gravy train stops. I don't know that this guy wants it to end. And I'm starting to think that he is just as much of a problem globally to the United States, not as far as evil. Putin started this, he's wrong, but as far as as Putin. I don't know that Zelensky has any interest in ending this. Not saying Putin does, but we kind of started off with Zelensky maybe wanted to, it was a defensive war. I don't think we're there anymore. That's just my opinion, and you can please comment. Resource predator versus process predator. What do you think Zelensky is? Or do you think he's just a defenseless victim in all this? That's also a position that you can hold. What did happen in Pennsylvania was basically a Democrat campaign event.
Yes. I wonder why. I wonder what that tells you about what the Democrats are going to do if they win.
Yes. Well, he was flown to Pennsylvania on U.S. Air Force C-17. Really? It was on an Air Force C-17?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Your tax dollars, by the way. And then Pennsylvania governor, also not vice presidential candidate, too Jewy, Josh Shapiro, joined, and he signed his own artillery shell. So that's fun.
Foreign nation participating in a campaign stop. Like Zelensky's in town to speak at the UN, which I think he may have already done or is set to do. I don't remember. I haven't seen it. I've been traveling. But they're like, hey,
did he wear a mock neck sweater? No. I'll bet he wore a mock neck sweater.
Probably. We're like combat fatigue looking stuff, right? Yeah. He basically is like, hey, let's jump on a plane and go to this munitions plant so that we can, like get people to give us more money to give to you.
Well, and then Zelensky, by the way, also.
It's a terrible look, too.
Yes, it
is.
is.
An American governor?
Yeah.
Signing an artillery round that's going to be killing Russia. That's a bad look.
Yes, it is absolutely a bad look. But the left is the party of perpetual war, the Democrat Party. Certainly today, Code Pink, they're not stopping here. So Zelensky also took the opportunity to criticize Donald Trump and specifically J.D. Vance, which was interesting and completely out of line, calling J.D. Vance too radical. And then he encouraged Vance to study World War II.
He did.
Do you know how I know this is basically he was force-fed Democrat talking points? Ask me how I know this is basically him being force-fed Democrat talking points.
How do you know?
Because the Democrats don't believe that J.D. Vance lacks a grasp in history.
Really?
Here's what they do. If you are a Republican, if you're a conservative, they say you're dumb. If they can't make that work, they just say you're evil. Or in this case, weird. Richard Nixon, evil. Ronald Reagan, dumb. George Bush Sr., evil. George Bush Jr., dumb. Donald Trump, little of column A, little of column B. That's what they always do. If they know that it's a pretty tough sell to say you're stupid, they say you're evil. They just say Vance is evil and weird. Because, and I can look at this objectively, you've never heard me say that Donald Trump is a reliable historian. J.D. Vance, of everyone on... Well, first off, certainly at the top of these tickets.
Yeah.
But I would say as far as your representatives go, would be top 1% of people who definitely exhibits a firm understanding and quite an impressive recall as it relates to history and foreign policy. Here's J.D. Vance. Here's something you won't see because it makes far too much sense. The Quincy Institute describing the difference between Israel and Ukraine and also a little bit of history.
If you look at what Israel is doing just with the Iron Beam system, for example, this is a system that would allow America and our allies to actually achieve some parity with the people who are sending drones and rocket attacks and so forth. There is no way that we can long-term fight a missile defense battle against people if they're paying 1/10 or 1/100th for offensive weapons that we are paying for defensive weapons. And the Israelis are doing the most important work to actually give us missile defense parity. So my biggest criticism of our approach in Ukraine is that it has no strategic end in sight, and it's not leading anywhere that's going to ultimately be good for our country. But the second biggest criticism I make about the war in Ukraine and our approach to it is that we are subsidizing the Europeans to do nothing. The Europeans are not carrying their fair share of the burden, especially when it comes in provision of weapons and they're deindustrializing their own country at the same time that they say that Putin must be defeated at all costs. If Putin must be defeated at all costs, to our German friends, then stop deindustrializing your own country in the name of a ridiculous green energy policy.
I don't think I've heard anyone, presidential candidate or vice presidential candidate in recent memory, make a more clear, concise argument that is almost impossible to disagree with. You can disagree with the outcome and just say, well, you know what, I don't care. I still think that we need to foot the bill because the war is worthwhile. But you can't disagree with the premise because, again, he has a firm grasp on history. Zelensky says, yeah, study World War II. You know what? How about we play a game of quiz show with the two of you? We'll even let you wrap up your dick so you can play piano, because I know that probably puts you in a meditative state with better short-term recall. And understanding that, I think he has a basis to say what he said when he flat out stated, I don't care about Ukraine.
I think it's ridiculous that we're focused on this border in Ukraine. I got to be honest with you, I don't really care what happens to Ukraine one way or another.
You may not like it, but people, why don't politicians just talk and say what they feel? There you go. There you go. He says what he feels and he says what he thinks and he substantiates it. I don't know how you can ask for more. That's why they go, he's just weird, because they can't make him out to be dumb. Zelensky didn't get the memo. Went over his head.
Yeah. Yeah, J.D. Vance is not he doesn't come across as somebody who's uneducated as well. When he's doing all the interviews with all the big Sunday shows or CNN at night, MSC, whatever, whoever has him on, he comes across as a smart, competent guy. Now, the only thing that I will say that somebody will play that clip back that we played earlier on the Quincy Institute will say, you said Iron Beam. I think you meant Iron Dome.
Right.
People can misspeak. I don't mind that. What I'm saying is that this guy has an understanding and a grasp that Europe has to take a role in this if they want this to be resolved. Zelensky has to look at this situation. You know what saves millions of Ukrainian lives if that's how many have been lost? A peace deal. Even if the peace deal that you come to is not ideal. Yeah. I don't know, and I know that there's been poison pills and some of the offers that have gone back and forth. We were talking about it with Lane earlier. But you've got to say at some point, okay, if I want to save lives, here's how I can do it. It's not appeasing somebody. Yeah. It's basically saying, here is how to do it. In Europe, you have to stand up and pay for this guy. You want to go visit somewhere? Go visit somewhere in Europe and ask for money. Stop coming to the United States.
And you know what else?
It's important to ask his own people what they want.
That's true.
They're conscripting people in the military.
Yeah.
That sounds like they don't want the freaking war.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
I mean, if you're going door to door, pulling people out and put them in a van, it feels like maybe they don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, maybe there's some resistance there. Also, you know what you've never heard? Kamala Harris or Tim Walz describe the differences between the conflicts in the Middle East, like Israel and Russia, Ukraine. Guess what you'll never hear? Exactly that. Now, Donald Trump even stated yesterday, he entered into this, because you have to when you have an international leader, a foreign leader, with basically a blank check from the United States government, and one party is promising them an open-ended blank check. Yeah, you kind of have to enter into the fray. And he said that Zelensky is, great salesman, and of course wants Kamala to win, which is true.
Ukraine now, I see Zelensky is here. I think Zelensky's the greatest salesman in history. Every time he comes into the country, he walks away with $60 billion. Billion! Walks in with $60 billion. He wants them to win this election so badly.
And that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's over, what is it, 150-ish?
As far as pledged.
And you given, so it's not 60 billion every time you come into the country, but they'll fact check him on that and be like, yeah, Donald Trump lied and said 60 billion. Well, tell me what it is, Daniel Dale.
You can't walk into a DC 7-Eleven without getting another 10 bill.
Or crack in New York.
That's true. Loves crack. That's what people tell me about Zelensky. He's a crackhead. I say he couldn't. They say he does. I say, okay. So, also, I don't know if you know this in military news, there's a strong chance that the United States, or perhaps one half, plans to enter the war because the Army just removed a bunch of key diversity requirements.
No.
As far as recruiting. Yeah, this comes from military.com. The Army's top enlisted leader has removed key guidance that required diversity to be considered when selecting individuals to serve in upper-level non-commissioned non-commissioned officer positions, which would suggest that war may be coming. And let me explain to you why I believe that. Oh, that's right, because someone who we knew, our Navy friend, in a previous undercover story said that, the whole DEI thing goes away the second China invades Taiwan. If you see it go away, it means we're going to war.
I'm sure during a time of war, we don't really, would diversity be so important?
No, it's not. That's why I told you, at the Pentagon, they say it all the time. As soon as China invades Taiwan, none of this is going to matter.
Yeah, because it turns out you don't want shrill, blue-haired, land whale feminist bitches when it comes to war. You want the guys you've accused of being the perpetuators of patriarchy. Largely, redneck white guys. And yeah, strong black Latino, just men in general speaking. But the people you vilified for so long, those traditionally masculine men, those are the people who you need to go and fight war. Now we forget it as it relates to elections, right? When we're away from war, because you're not really concerned with the draft, and you don't necessarily represent people who are eligible for the draft and the people who, built this civilization. It didn't start with skyscrapers and climate control, but I get it. You only need the men when it's time to do some dying.
Right. Can we just stop playing around with this? Like this should never have been a consideration. I don't like the fact that we may have won on this. Because, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like they had a change of heart. They didn't have a flash of genius moment like we talked about. Like, diversity, right. Maybe not the thing that we need to look at in the military. Maybe it's the effectiveness of the fighting force, and that's what we should be going with. I don't like it's because we might be going to war. Right. I want the result, but just not the outcome.
Well, don't worry. You're safe. You got the bum knee. Hey, if you enjoyed watching this video, you probably enjoy watching the show. It's live, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you want that to continue, if you slap like or slap the comment button down there, I'll slap Gerald. Wait, if you don't slap it, I'll slap. Either way, I'm going to slap Gerald.